what support does Texas Tech have for athletes to promote academic completion?
We've got a couple of different things. I've referenced the NCAA's degree completion, and some of that is about progress towards a degree. Once upon a time, long ago, students would come to a campus and take just enough classes so that they could participate in their sport. Well, what was happening is that there was a number of student athletes that would exhaust their athletic eligibility but never get their degrees. So there's legislation that actually monitors our student athletes' progress towards their degrees called PII. That's why the college partnership and the major advisor is so important, and the registrar's office with our certification officer to be sure all the ducks are in a row. So first and foremost, when we get them here, we want them to get a degree. So we do everything we can to get them supported from their major college, from this college, any additional resources and services they might need so that they're progressing along within their degree plan. If for some reason our student athletes are leaving here for a professional sport or have to have a break of some sort for personal reasons in their tenure here at Texas Tech, we do have something called degree completion. Degree completion is something that allows Texas Tech to say to a student athlete, you've competed here, you've exhausted your eligibility, but we want you to complete your degree here. Okay. And so there is actually financial support to help that young man or young woman to come back and complete their degree. The way it's set up now, they have to be within 30 credit hours of receiving their undergrad degree. We cannot right now pay for a master's program. So that's a bit more expensive than what we'd be able to do with that undergrad program. But there's also assistance through the NCAA, who also have a degree completion program that'll cover tuition, fees, books. And that's always a great opportunity for some former Red Raider who's had a family and wants to come back. The other option that's really helped us is the online resources that are growing here at Texas Tech that allows someone to complete their degree at a distance as opposed to coming back to campus.
You mentioned oftentimes some athletes can't finish their degree. Do you know roughly about how many students have participated in this program so far?
NCAA's degree completion program, we usually have anywhere from 2 to 3 former student athletes to utilize the NCAA money. We've been really fortunate within the past 5 years with the leadership of Kirby Holcutt to actually have some funding within the department. And I'm going to guess that we've had at least about 30 student athletes. And 30 sounds like a small number if you're thinking about 5 years, but if you're thinking about adult men and women who have families, who've gone off for professional sports and are coming back to obtain their degrees, it's a really good number. They're having to make slower progress than most of our traditional students, so they're taking 3 and 6 hours, or they're only utilizing the summer. But we've been really fortunate. We do encourage those students too, excuse me, who have been a part of professional sports to utilize any support that the NFL or the NBA might have for them. Major League Baseball also. So we've got some former baseball students who are back as well.
How does Texas Tech respond to first-generation students to assist their transition into the university?
What we do in general when we're looking at our student-athlete experience is we're acting as if no one has had a college experience. And so what we're doing is, from the standpoint of summer bridge, bringing in students prior to their first full-time enrollment. So the summer after they're graduating from high school, we're able to bring them in and do some specific programming. Some of it is life skills, some of it is academic support. But what we do is, in addition to you taking your 3 credit hour or your 6 credit hour class, you're also going through a workshop here in the Marshall Sharp Center on how to talk to professors, writing a professional email, getting them acclimated to what reading a syllabus looks like. So getting them acclimated to campus from the standpoint of, by the time the fall semester hits, they're already familiar with where buildings are. They already have an idea of what their schedule will look like in this office. The other thing that I would say, specific to first-time students, is that within Texas Tech Athletics, there is a resource person for everything. We've got a resource person over in Student Business Services. We've got a resource person in financial aid. We've got a resource person within the Wellness Center or or sports medicine. So there's a specific standpoint or point person for them from any standpoint that they might be looking at. For parents who have questions about, okay, this is our first college experience, what resources are available to them. In addition to what we can do here in the Marshall Sharp, we definitely refer them out to campus to be sure that they're looking at other programs like Mentor Tech, or linking up with folks in financial aid to get a better understanding of what does a Pell Grant mean, and when do I pay a loan back, so that if they have those questions, we make sure that the experts get to answer those questions.
You mentioned the academic side of preparing the student. Do you know how students are exposed to information on like plagiarism and ethics and just, things that they may not have known coming out of high school?
Yes, so we do, again, back to some of the partnerships. We've got partnerships with Student Conduct, with the Writing Center, and now with the Ethics Center. But looking at what we're doing right now is just making sure, one, students have an understanding that some of the things that were okay in high school are not okay on the college level. So making sure during that summer bridge opportunity that we bring over folks to say to them, all right, so Wikipedia,
Right.
stay away.
It's not a good source.
It's not a good source. But helping them to understand what is plagiarism, what does it mean to be inclusion, what is a proper citation. So making sure that we put some presentations and people in front of them to help them understand that, but not just one time. We know that in lots of the classes, particularly with PII and some of the English classes, this is being repeated. They're getting a fresh education from each of those classes. But we've been really fortunate because here at the Marshall Sharp Center, we've got a classroom, and we welcome those instructors and TAs to come over and do presentations, not just for student athletes, but for any student in that class. So folks from PII and the Writing Center have taken us up on that. And they come over and they talk to our student athletes about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, entertaining their questions in a safe environment before they get in trouble. In addition, we do have some contacts from over in Student Conduct that come over, and not, again, when they're in trouble, but just to give them reminders around the midterm and finals time to say, okay, remember, here's some things that get students in trouble every time. Giving them examples and making sure that it's in a language that they understand and they get an opportunity to get any questions they have answered.
So do you think that is beneficial to the student, and how do they respond?
They respond in some different ways. One, for anybody coming from an environment where it was never talked about, there is definitely a learning curve to understand what it means to be a critical thinker and not just utilize someone else's words from a website. And they're sometimes a little confused, why was this okay where I was, but it's not okay once I get here. I think students are appreciative because our students don't want to be in trouble. No student, not student athletes or anybody. So being able to give them the information in advance so they have the opportunity to make a decision about right and wrong behavior, I think is really important. But more times than not, our students are encouraged by it because they understand that what we're trying to do is help steer them in the right direction, to give them some resource people and some resources to help them with that. We tell them all the time that we're not the only people here to support you, which is why we want to get other faces in front of them so that they understand that their experience at Tech is much broader than athletics.
Is there a different approach for students that are transfer students from another university?
Yeah, sometimes it requires it because they've totally got the college experience down, right? And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we get them acclimated to Texas Tech and to the Marshall Sharp Center. Probably with our transfer population, we say about half and half that are coming to us from community college environments as well as four-year environments. With athletics, as you well know, the opportunity to transfer pops up when there is a head coaching change or when a student just feels like, you know what, I want to go somewhere where I can get more playing time. And 9 times out of 10, those students are coming with an academic foundation. So what we're trying to do is get them caught up with their degree programs, making sure that they understand what the resources are here. For any of the students, whether you're a transfer or coming from high school We take students through a battery of assessments to make sure that we have a gauge about how they learn. We want to be sure that they know how they learn. So we take them through some different assessments and surveys, and then we meet with them. Our learning specialists will meet with them and say, all right, Felicia, you really are a visual learner. Let's tell you what being a visual learner means. For those students who are already tracked in a way with where they are with their learning concerns or their academic resources, we just reinforce them. We just make sure that they know where Student Disability Services is and who their learning specialist is and how they can get support within the classroom.
You talked about those learning assessments. Do you do those with every student that comes in, or is that just for transfer students?
No, it's every student. So what we do when they first get here is we take them through what's called a learning profile. Really, it's an assessment that we came up with that we feel like helps a student to helps a student to help us know what you think. So you think you're a visual learner, but really, let's see, really, are you a visual learner? And that's the next step. We take them through what we call the optimal performance evaluation. That's a partnership with the Psych Center, and we take them through that assessment, and then after that assessment, there's some decisions about whether a student needs further testing, if we need to refer them out for additional services, not just for learning concerns, but anything else. They might have questions that come up about sleep. They might have questions about eating. We've got a nutritionist that can help them with that. So that assessment helps us on a lot of runs.
What would you like to say to future students that will consider coming to Texas Tech?
Do it. Texas Tech is a good place to be, not only because of the athletic environment, but because of the education, because of the faculty and staff, because of all the resources and services. There are things to do. There are ways for you to get involved and get invested. I think a learning experience is more than the classroom, and Texas Tech gives a student that opportunity to get involved. Anything in campus life can be on your resume because you get involved, whether it's SGA or a major club that you want to get involved in, an ESS. So I would say to a student that coming to Texas Tech isn't just an investment of your degree, but of your future. You're looking at all the opportunities to not just grow and learn as a student, but to grow and learn as a person. Community service is really big for our student athletes. We average about 1,200 hours of community service a year. That means that they're getting beyond the campus community and getting invested in Lubbock. Going to schools, going to hospitals. That's not just an opportunity for student athletes, but for any student that comes. So I would say that Texas Tech is a place you want to be when you're thinking about, one, enjoying what you have today, but also investing in your future.
Do you have any last follow-up comments that you would like to say about athletics in general, or your program, or the Marshall Sharp Center?
I never want to have conversations without making sure that folks understand that Texas Tech Athletics does not believe that we're on an island. We're a part of a university community. We are as invested in our campus as our campus is invested in us. I know that lots of times people talk about the way athletics does not engage or interact with our campus. That's not the way that Texas Tech Athletics does it. Our students have the kinds of phenomenal experiences they have because of the investment from the chancellor down. Our leadership is involved and invested and wants our student athletes and all of our athletic department to get involved in our campus, to get engaged in where our students are experiencing their college lives. So I just want to thank our campus for making my job so much easier working with our student athletes, making it easier to recruit students here because they understand that the resources, the support, the services, the opportunities to grow and learn are here at Texas Tech. And I just, again, want to thank the university for the opportunity to serve you.